Hello, hello. We back, baby. Episode 5. Back from a very eventful weekend, mind you. A very eventful weekend in the Motor City here. We have a lot to talk about. Going through, we have the Tigers finally signed Jonathan Schoop, which we kind of assumed would happen, but finally actually happened. So we can talk about that. And then the future of the second base position, really, for the team. The Pistons made a trade. We can talk about DRose officially going back to the Mecca, back to New York. So we can talk about that return. The Wings played probably the best hockey game they've played in what you could probably argue is a year and a half to 2 years. They looked fantastic. And then the Lions, we have Calvin in the Hall of Fame, some more Stafford Rams stuff, some trades that were offered are starting to come out, and then obviously the Super Bowl. So, quite a bit to talk about, quite an eventful weekend in sports in general, and specifically even, it makes my life a lot easier even when we're not playing games. We still have plenty to talk about across all 4 teams. So that is amazing. Welcome to the Bentley Show, episode 5. I am your host, Scott Bentley. Let's just get right into it. No more stuff to talk about at the beginning, man. Let's just get right into it. First up, the Detroit Baseball Tigers. Yes, the Detroit Baseball Tigers re-signed Jonathan Schoop to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. You can go on my Twitter and watch my video reaction to this signing. I'm going to reiterate a lot of those points, but this is an hour-long show, and on Twitter, my videos are 2.5 minutes long, not even. So, I get a lot more room to talk here. Basically, my opinion of this is sure, why not? Why not? I'm not going to hate on it. I don't think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's stupid or horrible by any means. But I'm not gonna get giddy and run around the neighborhood because of Jonathan Schoop. That's also not gonna happen. So here's my thing. The second base position is a weird one on this team. Admittedly, it's a weird situation we have going on at second base. So Jonathan Schoop comes in. He's going to be the starter for this year. They hinted at him possibly playing first base, which, okay. He hasn't played a professional game at first. We'll start with that. He's built like a first baseman, I guess. Like some second basemen are built like middle infielders, right? I would say probably most second basemen are built like middle infielders. Like, you have a good enough range, you can play second or I don't know, short's kind of a premier position, but maybe like second to third is kind of common. You don't really see a second base to first base flip very often at all. So that's interesting for starters. But he is, he definitely doesn't have the range or defensive ability to play short or third. So or outfield, heaven forbid. So first is definitely, the quote was him and AJ Hinch talked about his defensive versatility and what he brings to the table as far as different positions he can play. By process of elimination, it just has to be first base. It has to be. There's no way AJ Hinch is about to tell this dude he can play shortstop. That is just not happening. And the third base is kind of log jammed, to be honest with you. So there's no way they're moving him to third in an organization that has quite a few third basemen coming up through the system in the high levels or just flat out in the majors. So it has to be first. It has to be first. Now, it's weird. This is so weird. This organization has to make even the smallest things ridiculous. I'll reiterate I'll reiterate my video really quick before we move on to how the infield and how second base in particular is going to look in the future. This is like fine, but like again, I'm not. We didn't have a second baseman as of 3 days ago. Before we signed him Friday, we did not have a second baseman. Isaac Paredes is amazing, and I love him, and I think the world of him. I think the future is very bright for him. I think it's pretty clear that everyone agrees that he is not ready to be an everyday starting second baseman at the major league level. I think odds are pretty good he starts the season in the minors and gets some reps in at second there. And then we only signed Paredes to a 1-year deal, or Schoop rather, to a 1-year deal. Maybe if he does well enough, we can flip him at the deadline or something. Paredes can come up in the second half. Also, he doesn't even need. It's not a dire need for him to come up and get. He's 21. Like, people kind of forget how young he is sometimes. So it's not a dire must-have. It's not like this dude's been in the minors 6 years and we're like, okay, stop with the service time crap. Let's finally call him up. Geez, like, he is still 21. So he just needs some reps at second. And because, again, third base is log jammed. Paredes doesn't really have a spot there. And he's not good enough to play shortstop at the major league level. So if you want to find a spot for him, you're going to have to teach him how to play second, because that is wide open. Because, again, before we signed Schoop, we literally didn't have one. The only other person even in consideration for this would be, I guess, Willie Castro. Willie Castro hit very well last year, got 4th place, I believe, for AL Rookie of the Year. And he should have been higher. He shouldn't have won it. Kyle Lewis absolutely deserved to win it, but he probably should have been second, if we're being completely honest. He had an incredible year at the plate. That being said, he is a horrid defender. Like, horrible. Like, in 30 games, pushed like -10 DRS. Like, that's defensive run saves for those who aren't analytically baseball inclined. And that's really bad, especially, again, for like 32 games. Having a -8 defensive run saves is pretty impressively horrible, actually. So he is not the shortstop of the future. There's no way. There's no way Willie Castro. Now, also with Willie, he gets interesting because he hit really well. But if you look at the advanced analytics, it appears that he hit really well and had like the luckiest season in the history of baseball. That's a slight exaggeration, but he was incredibly lucky by the looks of it. If you look at stats that kind of help you project how a player is going to play in the future, or how well a player is going to improve, or if they're going to take a step forward or regress, all of his advanced numbers say that he in theory should regress a ton, and he got super lucky, and he's not nearly as good as the ridiculous like 950 OPS or whatever he put up in 2020. So already kind of shaky when it comes to the future of the bat, but adding on top of it how horrible of a defender he is. I guess you could try him at second. Second's easier than short and is not as much of a premier position, but it's still middle of the infield. So I find it hard to believe that if you're horrible at shortstop that you just become a good defensive second baseman. And he doesn't even need to be good. He just needs to be like net zero. If he can just be mediocre and hit the way he did last year, he'll be a fine major leaguer. But yeah, Willie... That's really the only other person that's even in consideration to play second before we got Schoop. The organization still has a massive love for Cody Clemens for some reason. Cody Clemens was drafted in the second round a couple of years ago out of Texas. I believe he's Roger Clemens' son. He's definitely related somehow because it was talked about on draft night. I'm pretty sure he's his son. Anyway, did really well his junior year at Texas, like incredibly well. Hit the cover off the ball. Got drafted by us in the second round, and has really not done incredible. I mean, he's slowly moving up through the system, but he's like 25 now because he was drafted again, like out of college, and that was 3 years ago. So he's like 25, and in like single A, he's OPSing like 730, 750. That's nothing. That's not a guy you look at and you're like, damn, this dude's going to be a good major. And the thing is, he's bat first as well. Cody Clemens is not he's not Colton Wong, who the Tigers should have signed, by the way. He's not Colton Wong. He's not average hitter that is a massive plus defender. Like Cody Clemens is supposed to be like just good enough to pass defensively and gonna rake, and he's OPSing sub 750 in single A. So, but the organization still loves him, so he's gonna keep getting opportunities apparently. So what does all this mean? Basically, it means that I didn't really care that it was Schoop or not. I really wasn't like, oh, yay, we got Schoop back. But I am glad that they at least addressed second base because it was empty and we didn't have anyone to play the position. So that's good at least. At a minimum, they signed someone we needed. That being said, Jonathan Schoop is I think the phrase I used in my video was smart kid in a dumb class. Like, he is not some world beater that this fan base has made him out to be. He is actually like pretty mediocre. It's just that this is a testament to how bad we are. This franchise is so bad. This major league team is so horrible that a dude with a sub 300 on base percentage, sub 300 OBP, is like one of the worst at drawing walks in baseball, and was on pace to hit like low to mid 20 homers last year if it was a full 162. That guy is like some world beater, one of the best players on the team. People always, when people have been asking me this for the last couple of months about if we should bring him back, and I've always responded with like, whatever, like, sure, I guess. We need to sign a second baseman, so I don't really care if it's him or not, but I guess. People and they're like, oh, he was one of our best players. How could you say that? Yeah, he was one of our best players because we are horrible, not because he's that good. Look at his Baseball Savant page, man. It's a whole lot of blue. It's a whole lot of blue. He's really not that good. He didn't even OPS 800 this year. He had a sub 800 OPS and a sub 300 OBP. I promise he's not that good. But, again, I'm not trying to say that I hate the signing. We have a second baseman now. We didn't have one at the start of the weekend. So, like, props. I guess I'm happy that we at least have one. Just to wrap up here, like I said, the second base position is weird now. Schoop is definitely not a long-term solution. Again, I know he looks like he's incredible because he's playing alongside a bunch of trash cans. If you put Jonathan Schoop on the 2010 to 2014 teams, he would have been one of the worst players on the team. Okay, it's just, again, a testament to how bad this team is. Not that Jonathan Schoop's anything special, because he's really not. So he's not the long-term solution at second. Willie is going to get some looks, I would imagine, with how well he hit last year. He's going to get some looks, whether it's at short or second or both. Again, I don't think Cody Clemens will ever be relevant at the major league level. But the organization still loves him, man. McCoskey and Lynn Henning have both, recently and in previous years, just every offseason talk about how much the organization loves him. And Henning had a tweet a couple of days ago where he said that the organization is still praying that he's the second baseman of the future, and then he takes a big leap forward. Like, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. He's not that good. Second base is just weak. So is shortstop. Just weak in this organization. We'll get the shortstop another time because it's February 8th, and I still don't know who even is going to be our short. I would have guessed Nico, I guess, but I don't even know who the shortstop is, really. So the biggest thing is going to be what they do with Paredes. I don't understand why he wasn't moved to second base like a year ago. I mean, if you were insistent on drafting Torkelson as a third baseman, and you have Candy, like you kind of have a logjam there at third now. I don't understand why you're keeping Paredes at third base. He's not that good of a third baseman. Like, definitely not good enough to be like, oh, you're in competition with these three guys. I think it makes way more sense to move him to second. He's played professional games at second. He's a decent defender at second. So I'm praying that when he starts the season in AAA this year, that he does so playing second base, and they just don't keep throwing him out there at third and being like, oh, we'll figure it out when the time comes. No, you have a logjam at third, and you have no one, literally no one, at second. It makes no sense to not put him at second base to start off the year in AAA. No sense. Please be a competent organization for one time in my life. Be competent. There is no argument against putting him anywhere besides second at AAA to start off the season. None. All right. The Detroit basketball Pistons. DRose has officially been traded. DRose is gone. Obviously, I wish him nothing but the best, man. One of the biggest fan favorites for anywhere he goes, man. Just a hooper. Just a guy that no matter where he goes the rest of his career, what an incredible career and what a devastating career and everything in between. So obviously wish him nothing but the best and hope that he can do something with the Knicks. This is his second time playing in the Mecca, so hopefully this time goes better than the first time. As we all remember that. The trade itself, okay, Derek, amazing person. Just like I said, no matter where he goes, he's a fan favorite. There's a cult following for him of people that just become fans of whatever team he's on. And when he dropped 50 and had I worked my ass off for this, like just a cool guy. So that being said, the trade itself, W for the Pistons. www.w.com. You can't ask for any more than this. You might want to ask for like a smidge more, but like not enough where you can be upset about this trade. This is the value of Derrick Rose is what we got. This is a good trade for us. So Derrick Rose traded for the Charlotte Hornets. I almost said Bobcats. The Charlotte Hornets second rounder this year, and Dennis Smith Jr., who the team just officially announced before this is being uploaded, is officially on the team and on the roster and stuff. So it's all official. And yeah, so Dennis Smith Jr. and the Charlotte Hornets second round pick. Now, the only thing that could have made this better for me, like within expectation, obviously, is if we got our own second rounder back. That would have been sick. You know what I mean? That would have been like Weaver, you're dope. And like Weaver's already dope. He keeps that clip empty. But like that would have been the only thing within reason, obviously. The only realistic thing that could have made this a little bit better, just a little bit better, is if we got our own second back, because the Knicks had our second rounder and the Bobcats, gosh, they haven't been the Bobcats in like a decade. What am I doing? And the Hornets second rounder. So obviously we are like one of the worst teams in the league. So if we get our second rounder back, that's like could potentially be like the first pick in the second round, or at a minimum is going to be a top 3 pick in the second round, right? So that would have been awesome. That being said, Charlotte's not that good, and they've gotten off to this kind of hot start, and LaMelo's balling. He's fun to watch, man. He's fun to watch. He is so fun to watch. All the Ball family haters are fuming. at LaMelo Ball, getting his due diligence. Okay, but the pick currently, the Hornets are like in the playoff picture. Now, this is a side conversation. I don't think that's going to last. I don't think the Hornets are very good. I would go as far to say I know the Hornets aren't very good. That being said, they're off to a nice little hot start. They're in the playoff picture, and it's a shortened season. It's only 10 games, 72 versus 82. It's not like we're playing 40 games and they have a chance to like maintain this, I don't think. But, the more they win now, the harder it's going to be for them to fall and for us to make that pick reasonably high. You know what I mean? So we should all be rooting for the Hornets to lose a lot because we want that second rounder to be a much higher pick. Obviously, that's how trading picks works. The Hornets currently are, I think they're like the 7 seed. Yeah, they're 11-13, which in the modern day Eastern Conference is a 7 seed, even though you're 2 games under 500. Because that is the Eastern Conference post what? Post like 06. That's pretty much been the East. I mean, you had the LeBron teams, the Dwight Howard teams of the late 2000s. Yeah, pretty much since like 2006, 7-ish. The 8 seed in the Eastern Conference can be like below 500 and you'd probably sneak in. So, at a minimum, not at a minimum, for what it's worth, I should say, they are currently the 7 seed. That being said, they are only 2 games ahead of the 13 seed in the East. That's just how bad the East is. The 13 seed in the East, out of obviously 15 teams, is 9-15, the Orlando Magic. And then the Hornets are 11-13 and the 7 seed. So, like, that's my point. Like, that they're off to a hot. I mean, they're under 500. Like, comparatively speaking to how well most people thought they were going to be this year, I would say that's kind of a hot start. I mean, they're in the playoff picture, sure, why not? But, I mean, there's a good chance that this team ends in the 12-13 in the East range, which would likely land us. I mean, the West is a little bit better than the East. That being said, the Timberwolves are horrific. No, the West is still way better than the East. So we'll say that, like, if they fell to, let's say, the 12 in the East, I think that's reasonably realistic. Let's say they fall to the 12 seed in the East. That would give us the, probably 5th or 6th pick in the second round? Sure. I'll take that all day. Top 7-ish pick in the second. And Dennis Smith Jr. for Derrick Rose. I love it. I was really only expecting a second rounder for him. So the fact that we got a good second rounder, for a bad team, as well as Dennis Smith Jr. makes me incredibly excited. And so many people are dumb. So many people are like, oh, well, Dennis Smith Jr. stinks. This doesn't matter. Okay, well, Derrick Rose has not been that good. Have you watched Derrick Rose this year? He's in his 30s. Okay? He's in his 30s. He obviously has one of the most injury-riddled careers ever. And he's a bench player for a 5-win team. Now, bench player is, I guess, a little bit of a stretch because he plays like starter minutes. But technically speaking, he comes off the bench for a 5-15 team. The team with the worst record in the NBA. He comes off the bench for them. And he's 30. And he has a massive injury history. And he hasn't played that well. Straight up. Has not been that good this year. So, like, what were you expecting from him? That's why I would have been ecstatic with a second round pick. I would have been super happy just with a second. So, Dennis Smith Jr. is only 23 years old and is uber athletic. The rest of basketball comes and goes with him, admittedly. But he's a former first-round pick that can jump out of an arena. Okay? Why not? What? With how well Derrick Rose has been playing and how there's no purpose of keeping him on the team, a second-round pick and a guy who's 23 and has raw ability, why not, dude? That's a win. That's a massive win. You weren't going to get some all-star for Derrick Rose. You were going to get a project like that. And honestly, looking at the landscape of the NBA, I think a 23-year-old with extreme athleticism is about as good of a project as you could expect in return for Derrick Rose and getting a second rounder. You weren't going to get much. I wasn't expecting a player at all. And if you were, you weren't going to get much better than that, man. You really weren't. Dennis Smith Jr. obviously has had a roller coaster of a career. The shot is, Lord knows the shot, it needs some work. But he's an athletic point guard. And I think that a point guard tandem to end the season of Killian Hayes and Dennis Smith Jr. will be exciting as hell to watch. I think that would be exciting as F. Really, I do. You get a rookie facilitator out there half the game, and the other half of the game you get a project. And look, man, I'm not, actually I am. I'm going to toot this organization's horn a little bit just because of how rarely I get to do that with any of these teams these days. The Pistons, like it or not, have actually turned some careers around. We have been that destination where people go to develop their game and get better, and they have gotten better, and that's happened multiple times. Most recently with a certain center in Houston, Christian Wood. Obviously different position, I totally get it. Point stands. Christian Wood was a freaking nobody. A nobody. Got cut from summer rosters before season started. A nobody at 25 came to Detroit, became one of the most sought-after free agents in the market, and now is putting up borderline all-star numbers at 26. Took him a year. I don't know, man. I'm not going to come on here and say Dennis Smith Jr. is going to turn his career around and be some all-star, but at a bare minimum, you look at this move and you go, I can see why this makes sense. And, I have hope that he can improve here because we have literally seen people come in and improve here. There's one even on our team, bro. Josh Jackson has been playing incredible ball for most of the year. He got off to a really hot start, came back from his injury, kind of was a little slower, and then the last week has been back into fuego. So, I don't know, man. I think it's something to be excited. He's going to get opportunity. I would much rather watch him than some of the other point guards we're throwing out there that I know for a fact have no possible future on this team. You know what I mean? I'd rather watch someone who has a small % chance of turning it around and being, turning his career around and being on this team in the future than someone who I know has no chance. Way more exciting. Also, he's going to poster some people. So, at a bare minimum, we have that. This is a great deal. I'm super excited. I just don't understand how you can complain. This is Derrick Rose. This is 2021 Derrick Rose. We got a second rounder and a young project. How you were expecting anything more than that is beyond me. It's ridiculous, honestly. If you ask me, it's absurd for anyone to have gone into DRose's trade market expecting more than what we got. I think it's ridiculous. blasphemy, some might say. This is great. This is a great move. I'm super excited about it. And hopefully Junior can lock up and play here soon. Because I'd love to see him play, especially now with Rose gone and Killian still out. He's going to get a lot of PT, baby. He's going to get a lot of PT. So we'll kind of get right off the bat, you know what I mean? We'll kind of get a look at what we're working with there. So yeah, Dennis Smith Jr., a Charlotte second rounder, and Derrick Rose. Massive W for the Pistons. We should all be very happy. And www.www. All right, next, the Detroit Hockey Red Wings played a game yesterday. That's the phrase. I know. It was the big game of the day. There was no sporting event bigger than the Detroit Red Wings against the Florida Panthers. It definitely was bigger than any other sporting event going on Sunday. But if you happen to not watch, the Detroit Red Wings looked incredible. Incredible. I love it. They looked unreal, man. They got a 4-1 victory. Let's see. We're going to save him for last because he is probably my favorite player on the team now. Fabry looked fantastic. Fabry looked unreal. Good passing, good positioning, some hits. Obviously found the back of the net once too. Fabry looked really good. Probably his best game of the year so far. Vladdy looked incredible. Probably his best game of the year so far. Stahl, I can't believe I'm saying this. Mark Stahl looked passable. He looked like he might be a third-line NHL defenseman, which is unreal. Even if you take out the goal, right? Obviously, he scored. Even if you take out the goal, I think he actually looked like he maybe could be a taxi squatter for an NHL team and maybe sometimes play third-line D. From where we were coming from, that's a massive step forward for him. And it doesn't really matter what Mark's... that trade was solely a salary dump so that we could get some pick compensation for taking on his ridiculously horrible salary. So, you almost can't be too hard on him. I don't even listen to my own advice. I'm brutal to him. But at least at the end of the day, I know that, why that trade was made and that, it doesn't really matter how well he plays because we got what we wanted out of the deal. That being said, he actually looked okay. He actually looked kind of decent. Or like he was thinking about being decent. That's how I would describe it. I would describe it as while he was on the ice, he looked like he was thinking about possibly being a decent player at some point that night. Which I think is more than we can say about the previous rest of the season. I don't mean to rip on the guy for absolutely no reason, but it's really hard not to. He's not good. Okay. Then Greiss. Greiss looked great. Not only did Greiss look great, Greiss is the first goalie for the Red Wings, not named Bernier, to win a game in since Howard's last win, a year ago. It's been a long time. It's been a long, long time. And obviously, we had a delayed start to this year, and the season got cut short to last year, so that's a little, But at the same time, we're we're coming up on a month into the season here in a week or so. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like this is the start of the season and that's a stat. It's wild, man. It's wild to think about that it's been that long since someone not named Bernier has been in between the pipes for a Red Wings win. It's wild. Wild. Also, happy retirement, Jimmy Howard. I think he retired before I started making podcasts. Happy retirement, baby. You got way too much shit over the years, and I'm happy for you. Happy retirement. Wish him nothing but the best. So Greiss got a win, and he looks so good, man. Even when we lose games like 4-1 and 5-1 and like 7 to probably 1. Like even when we get crushed, he looks good. It's just the defense in front of him has been so bad. So bad. So like I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he finally he's on his head and he finally gets rewarded for it. And helps those stats out a little bit. It frustrates me to see how well he is between the pipes and see like his 88 save percentage just because of how horrible this defense is. So I'm happy for him at least that he gets to finally take a shower and not contemplate what he's doing in this city and be like, damn, I finally actually won a game. The main story, though, is Giovanni Smith. Giovanni Smith is quickly becoming my favorite Red Wing currently and one of my favorite wings of like the last 5 years, which probably isn't saying much, but I don't care. I love him. How can you not? I love him to death. He's playing out of his mind, for starters. In the game yesterday, he had a Howe hat trick, goal, fight, assist. I love him. I love him to death. And the goal was slick. The goal was nice. The biggest thing with him is his passing is crazy good. Like crazy good. It's honestly, it's like there are some times in sports where you look at something and you only have to see it a couple of times and you're like, damn, like that was nice. And his passing is like that, man. You'll just be casually watching on your couch and you'll just be like, oh, that was sweet. That was nasty. He finds people so well. I think he's honestly already one of the best passers on this team when you're talking about passing in front of the blue line in the opponent's zone. He is a great facilitator when it comes to passes like that. Obviously, he still has a lot of work to do. There's a lot of, I will say, some interesting decision-making sometimes. When he chooses to pass to the correct person, his passes are nice, but he doesn't always choose to pass to the correct person. Turnovers are still kind of a problem every once in a while. But those are like off the stick. Those aren't really passing as much. He's nice, man. He's nice with it. I really like him. I think he is playing into being part of the future plans for this team. And I know we're bad. So like, kind of like what I said about Schoop and the Tigers. Like, I know we're bad and anything kind of looks like something with how bad we are. But like, he looks really good. He looks damn good. I think also the fight. Well, landed on top, baby. Landed on top. For those who follow my Twitter, you know that I'm trying to get my official stat put into hockeyreference.com. The Scott Bentley Fights 1, SBFW. It's where I'm the judge, and people are like, oh, what qualifies it? I'm the judge, bro. I decide it. And according to my stat, we're 4-0 in fights this year. We've had 2 where we landed on top. We had 1 that was decisive, just like no doubt about it. one time for the one time. I hit you, you hit the floor. And then we had the Larkin fight, and he's the captain, so he gets the benefit of the doubt in a captain versus non-captain fight. That ends in a draw. He's the captain, so tie goes to him. So we're 4-0 in fights this year, according to my stat, which is all you should really care about. 100% win percentage in fights. This team is good at two things: winning fights and, for some reason, face-offs. We'll lose 7-2 and win face-offs 70% of the time in a game. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It's Danny DeKeyser, just out of nowhere, is winning face-offs at like a 60% clip for some reason. It's hilarious to me. It's hilarious that we just, out of nowhere, we win all of our fights because we're built like that. But I just think it's funny that I think I said Danny DeKeyser. I meant Glendening. Danny DeKeyser not taking a ton of face-offs back there. I meant Glendening. Glendening, for whatever reason, out of nowhere, is winning like 66 or 65% of his face-offs out of nowhere, which is hilarious to me. I don't know, man. And like, this game was like a 50-50 split, or they might have even won one more than us, and we dominated them. We won 4-1 and looked incredible. And then if you look at like the last 4 games that we've just gotten destroyed, or even over the entire 7-8 game losing streak, we'll out-face off a team like 68% to whatever math that comes, 32%. I don't get it, but I'll take it. At least we're good at something. We win fights and face-offs. That's what we do. Besides that, you're pretty much going to dominate us in every other area. But Giovanni Smith, man, what a baller, what a gamer. The Howe hat trick was awesome. The goal was nice. The pass was incredible. The passing was incredible. And yeah, the fight landed right on top of him, throwing him around like a rag doll there in the middle, a little bit in the middle too. There's no doubt he won that baby. I think that's probably it for the winged wheels. I'm just really happy Greiss finally got a win, man. I am really happy that Greiss finally got a win. All right, the Detroit Football Lions. I'm going to start off with the Super Bowl, I think, just because that just happened, is obviously the biggest news in sports, because it's the Super Bowl. Okay. Also, I just got confirmation. Luke Glendening is quite literally leading the entire NHL in face-off percentage won. The entire NHL. For fun. By like 2%, too. It's not even like a super close margin. Just for fun. Just decided he wanted to lead the league and face-offs won. Okay, the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because at the end of the day, there's still some Lions stuff to talk about. But Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback to ever walk on a football field. It's as simple as that. He's the greatest of all time. Tom Brady has more rings than any other franchise in NFL history. So if you're ranking, right, if you're going through and ranking how many Super Bowls every franchise has, teams have, Tom Brady is 1 with 7, and then there's a 3-way tie for second between the Steelers organization, the Cowboys organization, and the Patriots organization, in which Tom is responsible for all of theirs. And dude, like the whole, yes, his defense was unreal yesterday. Unreal. And the Chiefs O-line blew. And they took advantage of that. That Buccaneers defense was unbelievable today. They played the game of their lives yesterday. Not today. Yesterday. They did. And they absolutely deserve credit. If MVP could go to a group of people, the entire defense should have won MVP. Probably over time. Over Tom. Sure. Yes, the defense was unbelievable. But the notion of like he was carried because or like his last 2 Super Bowls he hasn't given up a touchdown, like he's carried or whatever. Bro, he has more rings than any other franchise ever. If it was possible to get carried by a good defense, a lot more quarterbacks would have this many rings. A lot. Like, it's impossible to make that argument when he literally has more rings than any other team in the entire NFL. That's just a absurd argument. He's the GOAT. And he's coming back next year. Yeah. He's the GOAT, man. But that defense deserves its credit. Undeniably, that defense deserves a hell of a lot of credit. Jason Pierre-Paul, what a career. He's a young lad with the Giants when they're making, their Super Bowl runs and going deep into the playoffs, and then he blows his hand off, basically. Finds second wind in Tampa and is now like, you could argue, a borderline premier pass rusher in this league again. Like, good for him, man. What a story. And that linebacking core, that whole front 7 is nasty. Also, Ndamukong Suh, Super Bowl champion. That makes me so happy. Gosh, that makes me so happy. Now that he's won a ring, he should come home, huh? He should come home. Suh squad, baby. I went to the Packers Lions Thanksgiving game. Was it Thanksgiving? I went to a Packers Lions game Suh's last year in Detroit. And I fumbled into these tickets. These are like family and family friends had. Actually, it was, I don't remember. I barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Someone in my family got, on my mom's side, got tickets that got us into a suite. And so me and my sister are up there in the suite, and we're just like amazed by the fact that we're in a suite at Ford Field in a Packers game. And we look to our right, and the suite directly next to us is Ndamukong Suh's family. And they all have flags and stuff and eye paint that says Suh Squad on it. And it's like his mom and his family is all right there. It was one of the craziest things. So I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for Suh. He's also had a hell of a career, and at one point was one of the most hated athletes in the sport. So I'm happy that he got his due. And that he is a Super Bowl champion. Ndamukong Suh, baby. Oh, that makes me so happy. Okay, moving on from the Super Bowl. Like I said, don't want to spend too much time on it. Everybody's covering it, and we got some line stuff to actually talk about. For starters, Calvin Johnson, first ballot, Hall of Fame. Yes. Put on the board, yes. So happy. Don't need to spend too much time on this either. Just wanted to acknowledge it and say it's deserved. But I really hope that Sheila and him can work something out, man. Because it is so sad to hear him talk about the Detroit. Because every single time he talks about how much he loves the fans and how they are the greatest people he's ever met, and that Detroiters are more of a home than his actual home, and how much he loves all of us. And then he talks about the organization, and he talks about it like I can't even find a comparison. You can feel the hurt, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He talks about it so negatively, and you can tell that he's so offended. He's offended to have been part of that organization. Offended. And on the Hall of Fame, night where he got inducted, he was asked about the relationship with the Lions, and he, encouraging words. He said that him and Sheila have had some conversations, and they're working toward having a better relationship going forward. Just pay the man his fucking money. Gosh. That gets me so upset. Pardon my French. I know I said I was going to try to swear less, but gosh, that makes me so upset. Pay the man his effing money. Ridiculous. Embarrassing franchise. Embarrassing. Probably the second best player to ever play for you. You owe him in the Ford family, you owed him chump change. What he is owed is literally chump change to the Ford family. You own an NFL franchise, bro. Gosh, that pisses me off so much. Pay the man his freaking money. Unreal. So, that being said, Hall of Fame, I'm so happy for him. He is the greatest wide receiver of all time. Argue with a freaking brick wall. Greatest wide receiver of all time. Best to ever do it. Best wide receiver to ever walk on a field at any level. Greatest of all time. At me. See if I care. At me. All right. Now, Calvin, Hall of Fame, greatness. First ballot, more than deserved, yes. Calvin's quarterback, not John Kitna, not Dan Orlovsky, Matthew Stafford, is now a Ram, obviously. And the report being that he is attracting players to come play for him in LA. The big one, the noteworthy one that is confirmed already by like every news source in America is Marvin Jones. Now, do I need Marvin Jones back on this team in 2021? Absolutely not. Marvin Jones is amazing. I love him. He seems like an unbelievably cool human being. And on a personal level, I love him to death. He was on those Bengals teams that I loved as well. And then obviously came here and made me love him even more. Great guy. That being said, I don't need a slow veteran wide receiver on my rebuilding team. I really don't. Now we're gonna have to get somebody because we have none of our wide receivers are under a contract past this year. I'm pretty sure. So we're gonna have to get somebody. We're gonna have to get some receivers. But Marvin Jones not staying in Detroit I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope if he goes to LA that him and Stafford win together. That'd be amazing. It'd be an awesome story for obviously the two of them, but honestly for Detroit. But I don't need him on my football team and coming up in the year of 2021. Fall of 2021, I'm not losing sleep if Marvin Jones isn't on my roster. Okay? I'll start with that. The other thing I'll say is this. What does it say about an organization where you can have a quarterback for 13 years and not once did was there a single report of anyone who went, damn, I really want to play with 9, so I'm going to go to Detroit? And he hasn't even played a game in LA yet. He's been a Ram for a week. Basically, the day he is traded to the Rams, there's an entire article written about the fact that players really want to play with him and he's attracting names. What does that say about you as an organization? It's embarrassing. Again, we talked about it with the Calvin thing. That is embarrassing. Embarrassing, man. The only other thing with Stafford that also came out, offers that were made for him are starting to slowly trickle out. So we heard the Carolina one last week. Without a doubt, we made the right decision. You can go listen to my opinion on that in episode 4. Made the right decision. Glad we took the deal we did. That being said, the new one was our initial offer to the Rams. Apparently, we asked about Aaron Donald, and look, man, people tried to clown us. That people are just ridiculous. They were never going to say yes to that, obviously, ever in a million years. But you have to figure out where the ceiling is. That's like literally how negotiations work. You have to figure out what the highest possible offer is. If you start too low, then they look at you and go, okay, yeah. And then you're hosed. So you have to start ridiculously high and then slowly work down to where that's literally just how negotiate. I'm not some master negotiator, but I'm just, it's ridiculous for people to be like, wow, Holmes is a freaking idiot. Why ever would he ask that? What a moron. The Lions GM's a dumbass. Like, that's literally just how any negotiation works. Now, you know, you have to stay a little bit in reason or else they just laugh and hang up at you. That's Al Avila syndrome right there. Asking for Glaber Torres for Matt Boyd. You know, but you're a top 10 starting quarterback for one of the best defenders of all time is obviously far way away from being a fair deal. And they told us that, and then we worked down and got us the price we wanted. It was a story that I think was blown way out of proportion. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a reflection of how he is as a negotiator, as a trader. We got a fantastic deal, so it's definitely not, a reflection of if he's a poor judge of talent or not, because we got an incredible deal in return. 2 firsts and a third is obviously. You go listen to my opinion on that. I'm ecstatic about the return we got. So, it's just funny to me how he was clowned for that. Like they were never gonna say yes, but you gotta ask, right? Imagine if they did. We'd be constructing a statue already. You know what I mean? So that I think was a ridiculous story that should not have even really been a story, but. It was an excuse to make fun of the Lions. So, excuse me, people took it and ran. That being said, I'm still super, super happy about the return, man. I'm still ecstatic. I think that we got great value, and like I talked about in the last couple of episodes, I think that is the type of deal that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can move up this year. You can stand pat this year. You can move up next year. You can stand pat next year. You can move up the year before, the year after, rather. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can do with the deal that we got. Also, I'm going to talk about this more at length on Wednesday's show, but I am slowly. It takes a lot to change my mind, as you guys can tell. I'm a little late to the party in some of these takes. I am slowly starting to believe that we might just have to take a QB no matter what. I'm not there yet. I'm really not. I'm very far from being on that point, actually. But I guess my point is I'm slowly starting to think that I think I said in episode 4 that there's no way that 4 or 5 quarterbacks go in like the top 5 picks or top 10 picks. So that's why I said like I'm not adamant on taking a QB at 7 because we can take a chance on someone in 2 or 3. I don't know. The market's heating up a little bit on QBs. As we get closer to draft time, it's probably only going to get even more and more, heat up more and more because it is quarterback. I'm slowly starting to think that might have been a wrong take and that there's a legit chance that 4 quarterbacks go in that top 10 range. Which, if that is true, we might just have to say screw it and just take best QB available at 7. I don't know yet, though. We still got a long ways to go. I'll talk about it more in depth on Wednesday. But listening to some people who are much smarter than me in the football world talk about it, I'm slowly getting there. Still not even close to being there, but I'm thinking about plugging in the address in Google Maps and possibly debating on going there. Okay? Not there yet, though. All right, that'll do it for the Lions, which means that'll do it for the show. Thank you so much for listening. The support continues to be unreal. I continue to love doing these, and I will continue to do these because of that. So many people reach out after every episode I publish, honestly, and just make me feel very appreciated. So it's incredible. I'm going to keep doing it. Thank you for listening. We are on pretty much anything. We're now on Google Podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Podbean, and we are on YouTube. We're on anything. YouTube, you want to see my beautiful mug. That's your fault. So we're on everything. Be sure to rate 5 stars if you're on a platform that allows you to rate. That, not all of them do for whatever reason. I don't know. The podcast industry is weird. So be sure to do that. Thank you so much. You can write a review and call me an idiot. That's more than welcome. At least you're writing a review. You know what I mean? I kind of get credit for that. So go for it. Besides that, thank you all for listening. I will see you all again on Wednesday. Peace and love. Going to therapy is dope. Go Detroit sports, baby. See you Wednesday.